Hi everyone, it's me, Cathy and you're here for a live yoga clinic. So get your hydration and we start like right now. Hello, hello. Get settled, get a little hydration for you. This will be an hour, okay? And this is a yoga clinic for beginners, okay? So I go live once a month with these yoga clinics and or flows. Cathy Fettis, your fellow female activist and wellness coach and yoga instructor. So today we are again here on the mat, and I believe you can see everything okay. Um, and what we're going to do today, it's going to be a yoga clinic, and we're going to go over the most important part of yoga, which is our breath. So we're going to learn Ujay breathing, okay? Then we're also going to move into props, okay? Yoga props. We have yoga props that we use. And so you don't need the props, but I'm going to show you what they are. And then we also uh, then we'll go into a little bit of mobility because I want you to be ready for next month so that you are working for the next 30 days or technically like 28 days, right? But you're working towards more mobility in your hands and feet so that you're ready for what will be learning the sun salutations A, B, and C next month. Okay, so again, we always start any of our wellness videos with what I like to call our PQ reps, okay, our positive intelligence or positive quotient repetitions, okay? So we get to do that now. So go ahead, wherever you're at, if you feel safe, close your eyes and go ahead and with your breath, without changing it, notice what is happening to your body. What parts of it are moving? Where do you feel tension leaving? Again, not changing anything, simply noticing. Now, most appropriately, go ahead and bring your palms together in what we call prayer. And with much intention, go ahead and rub your palms together, your fingertips all the way down to the end of your palm, and feel all those sensations. Feel your fingertip ridges. Feel the friction. Can you feel as you draw one hand down the other on the palms, all the different parts of your hand and palm? And bringing back your hands to prayer, tilting your chin down just a tad in reverence and gratitude. And when you're ready, go ahead and blink your eyes. And because I don't want to be, because I know you can hear around me, I'm going to close my window real quick. And I want to make sure that you can see everything. Alrighty. So, yes, this is live. And so we go with what happens when there's live. So, again, we always start all of our wellness videos. I have several different playlists. So, we have wellness, okay, wellness. But within the wellness realm, we have our weekly videos. Then we have what I like to call our recommendations, okay, for fellow female activists. And those are once a month. And we have these live. So the yoga, again, is obvious. We want to use yoga to help us when it comes to our daily rejuvenation, right? We don't necessarily have to have a regular yoga practice, but I know for myself that it really helps center me. Okay. So a lot of people don't realize that most of yoga actually really centers on meditation and breathing. So when I say I practice yoga every day, technically we all do because we're all breathing. But more importantly, I may not actually get onto a mat every day, but I do always practice some form of yoga, i.e., I'm in some form of meditation. And that's in the form of sitting down and like taking on that meditation stance, so to speak. And I can also be in a meditative state through my positive intelligence PQ reps, positive quotient reps, repetitions. So again, today we are going to learn specifically about Ujjayi breathing. So Ujjayi breathing is definitely something very, very integral to yoga. And the whole idea of yoga, right, is basically one breath to one movement. Okay. And the easiest way to think about Ujjayi breathing, okay, is the fact that I love this explanation. And imagine Darth Vader. Anyone who's familiar with Star Wars, I love Star Wars. I was around when the original Star Wars came out, so when all those movies started. But Darth Vader, okay, uh, is one of the main characters, right? And the um, the person who plays Darth Vader is, I shouldn't say play, the character Darth Vader is always wearing a mask in the original movies. Okay. So his voice, okay, the voice of Darth Vader definitely has a certain tone to it because that mask, right, acts as, it's so he's more machine, to quote the movie, more machine than man, supposedly. Not to quote that specific movie, but to quote how he sounds. So without that mask, he would sound normal, right? With the mask, though, right, there's that actual barrier. And so you hear it's almost like an echo, right? So what's fun is that that's actually the best way to think about Ujjayi breathing. You want to sound like Darth Vader. How do you accomplish that? So the easiest way is to think about and to see it visually in your mind is you want to restrict the back of your throat. Okay. So to do that, again, thinking how does Darth Vader sound? You can hear his actual breath, right? That's the echoing coming from the mask. So that's exactly what we want to sound like. So Ujjayi breathing, again, is how one, we warm up our bodies. Okay. So believe it or not, when you are breathing so Ujjayi breathing, I should say this. Ujjayi breathing is specific because it means that you're breathing only through your nose. That's very important. There is a reason behind that. We actually were meant to breathe through our nose specifically. Now, we have two ways to breathe. You can do so through our nose and our mouth. There's a reason, though, why it's preferable, okay, and preferred that you actually breathe through your nose. Ujjayi breathing actually takes that to a new level. So, what you're doing is you're obviously closing your mouth, but you're using Ujjayi breathing for two reasons. It's warming up your body quickly, and I do mean quickly. So much so that if someone is a practicing yogi and they happen to be pregnant, they're actually requested not to use Ujjayi breathing because it can overheat their bodies very quickly. So one, it warms up the body, which means because it's yoga is a breath to movement practice, one breath to one movement, it's a good way to hurry up and make not hurry up, but it's a safe way to warm up your body and your limbs. The second reason is that it's centering. Yoga is a movement practice, i.e., it is a meditative practice. It is a moving meditation. That is gorgeous, right? So we are always in tune with our breath, okay? The breath, all right, again, Ujjayi breathing is all about going through your nose. So if you've never tried it, again, it might take a little while, but the important part of this is that you're going to the idea is that you actually can hear the inhale, and you're going to definitely want to hear the exhale. So they should be equal in most cases. We want our breath when we're inhaling, okay, and then exhaling to be as equal as possible. Why is that? Again, we're moving with our breath. So one breath to one movement. So when we tell you inhale, we're trying to prep you for something. And then when you exhale, you're able to execute, right? So Ujjayi breathing, again, has two purposes. It's warming your body up, quite literally. And then two, it's helping you stay centered. You're paying attention to not just how your body is moving, but how your breath is moving with your body. It is a beautiful symphony when you really get into it. I liken it to swimming. So I loved swimming laps previously. And obviously, you're holding your breath, but there is such a rhythmic breathing that you learn, okay, when you are swimming quite, consistently. While we're not using Ujjayi breathing in swimming, that rhythm is exactly what you want to feel with the Ujjayi breathing, and that's the whole point. So, Ujjayi breathing, again, you're going to sip in, you're going to inhale through your nose, and you literally want to be able to hear it. It should be audible. And then you push it out with an exhale through your nose, and to restrict. You're going to have the restriction the whole time. So you should hear it because of that restriction. You should hear it inhale and then exhale. Go ahead and get nice and tall wherever you're at, sitting, standing, hanging around. Nice tall spine. And let's try that. Only through your nose. Here we go. Inhale. And then exhale. Inhale. And then exhale. It takes a little practice. And one thing is for sure that no matter where you use this, at some point you will start feeling warm. And so I live in the desert. I don't actually use Ujjayi breathing too often when I'm in practice. I might start out using Ujjayi breathing, and then it becomes a little bit too warm. And then I move back to it's still one breath to one movement, but I'm exhaling through my mouth. And that's okay. Again, if you happen to be pregnant, it's very much advised that you don't actually participate in Ujjayi breathing. Again, you already are warmer than usual. You don't need to get any warmer. When you're using any, again, it doesn't matter which way you're breathing, but I did want to again emphasize the fact that Ujjayi breathing, again, there's a reason for it. It's not because it's just different to be different. There's a purpose behind it. When you are in, let's say, a hot yoga, you might try hot yoga. Oh my gosh, I don't know why people would try hot yoga, but hey, go for it. In hot yoga, it's already it's humid in there and it's warm. Okay, it's actually hot. Like it's 105 degrees in some cases Fahrenheit. So, and you're sweating the minute you step in there. So I myself would never recommend using Ujjayi breathing in a hot yoga class. Again, practice it just when you're out and about. Get used to that pattern, okay? If anything, just get used to the idea of breathing through your nose. The more you breathe through your nose, the more efficient your breathing will actually become, okay? So I don't want to go too far into like all the benefits of breathing through your nose, but for Ujjayi breathing, again, it's easiest, I believe, if you were to just try it, okay, as you're hanging out, walking, moving about life. And then when you do decide to try it in a yoga practice, just be aware, again, you will warm up quickly. You might actually start with Ujjayi breathing, and then within minutes, you're like, oh my, I'm feeling pretty warmed up. I'm going to stop with the Ujjayi breathing, and that's okay. Okay, so that was Ujjayi breathing. Again, sounding like Darth Vader is probably the easiest way to think about that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move into another section, and this is all about yoga props. Okay, so I have all my props on the side here, so they're not the screen. And I have my notes as well. So what we're going to do now is, again, because this is for beginners, okay? So all my fellow female activists, wherever you are in the world, understand that yoga is beautiful. You don't need any type of props. You and your body, right? Mind, body, and soul is all you need whenever you want to practice yoga. What I'm going to show you though are the more common props. There are various different types of props, but I'm going to show you like what I would consider the basics. You don't have to go out and get them, but what I want to do is get you familiar with what you would see in a yoga studio, let's say, and or if you're out and about and you like are starting to really become more, interested in yoga, that you know what you're looking for, okay? So, I am already using props. So, a mat, right? And I'm actually sitting on one of the props now, but I want to go in order. And yes, I will be keeping hydrated myself. So, with that in mind, this hopefully will only last an hour if people pop in, and I'm happy to answer questions, but I just want to give you that, that info. So, oh, yes, and my feet, they're not something to be beholden, but, we'll go through it. We'll work with it. I am grateful that I have feet and all my toes. All right, so mat. That is probably what I would consider, if you're thinking about yoga at all, this is probably the best investment you can make, okay? Next to your water bottle. But a yoga mat. We have there's as many forms of yoga, there is like 10 times more type of mats. The thicker it is, the easier it will be on your limbs. And for me, I have really knobby knees. Like even when I was younger, I always had to have something underneath. But this is the really thick mat, and that's awesome. And you want to be careful because sometimes what you give up for one feature in a mat, you end up losing in another. In this case, it's a pretty cool mat. And what I would love, right, is to have a mat that has a lot of cushioning and also some really what we call tackiness to it. This one's okay, and most have patterns on them. And what I like about the tackiness is that it's easier to grip, right? So what we want, again, is up to you, and you're going to go through, all kinds of yoga mats. And I don't suggest going out and buying one right away. Feel free, if you do, go out and check out a studio here and there. They're going to have all these supplies, like I said, and you'll get to see which ones resonate with you. So a mat, though, okay, we use a mat. Now you don't need even a mat, right? But let me just say that practicing yoga on, let's say, carpet, for instance, you would think that that would be cool, but what happens is carpet is not flat, right? Not truly. And so it kind of makes balancing a little bit just more advanced, let's just say, right? Whereas when you're on a flat surface, okay, you can tell that this is like, it's mimicking wood. But when you're on any other surface, it is a lot easier to be, again, um, in a yoga stance, let's just say, versus if you're on sand or gravel or grass. I mean, you can do it, but just remember again that you're uneven. So the mats, if you are happen to be in those type of situations, help protect you from whatever element you're on. With all that said, again, it's going to be a very personal type of situation when you do decide to purchase a mat. Again, they come in different length. They come in different lengths even. They come in different shapes. Mine is actually circular, and I love it because there's nowhere that I'm going to flow to, end up that I'm not on the mat somewhere. So 360s are very cool. This is what you would definitely consider the more traditional type of mat, meaning that it's rectangular, okay? And oftentimes in a yoga practice, you will somehow end up off the mat. Well, again, the circular one that I love so much makes it less likely that you're going to end up off the mat. So again, stickiness or tackiness, okay, something to think about. And what's really cool is traveling with these lovely little mats. So this one rolls up and it has its own little handle, right? So I can put it on my shoulder and take it along. Not all mats are the same. And it's up to you if you want to buy all the different things. But when I was definitely more prone to want to practice more often, I actually bought a travel mat. So this one is seriously thin, okay? And it folds out, okay? As you can see. Oh, actually, no, you can't see. Let me get over here. And it folds so that I can take it in, say I can take it in a carry-all, right? This one, it's cool because it is travel, but what I gave up for cushion, right, because it folds, I also gave up tackiness. This one doesn't have the same type of grip, okay? So I took this to Florida and practiced outside by the pool at a resort for a conference I was at. Yeah, and I was slipping and sliding everywhere. I still totally am happy about that I practiced, but it made it difficult. It was not the easiest flow, let's say. So again, they come in all different shapes and sizes. Well, you can debate that, but they do come in different shapes and sizes. And so it's up to you how you want to, one, spend your money, but also just, if it's worth it. I use this again if I really know that I'm going to be gone for a long time somewhere, and I would take it with me. But usually, quite honestly, I haven't used it very often in the last, let's say even 10 years. But it's still cool to have because I can add more cushion, right? If I wanted it, my circular one, my circular mat, isn't as thick as this one. And so it's fun to be able to use this every so often. So again, mats, definitely, I would say if you're going to make your first purchase, you're going to want it to be a yoga mat because you can use it, right, for anything. You can use it as padding if you have people over, right, and they have sleeping bags or, whatnot. You can use it to, possibly have kids play on, right, as extra. I can see all this dust and stuff, but it's just it's very useful. So it doesn't just have to be for yoga. Now, of course, it will last longer if you don't only use it for yoga, but if it's sturdy enough, right? If you take care of it, then it will last quite a long time. Cleaning yoga mats. So I stay away from anything that's toxic. Okay. So I would only ever use possibly baking soda mixed with vinegar and water to clean it off in some way, shape, or form, and then spray it with vinegar water, right, out of a spray bottle to disinfect it and stuff. Then you'd want to let it dry, right? So they're made of all kinds of material. I would love to invest in bamboo, uh, a bamboo. Um, I have bamboo blocks, which I'll tell you about, but uh, they even have bamboo mats. Okay, so very sustainable, very uh, recycled material, right? And it's awesome. So it's all up to you. All right, so let's say that you get just your typical, you know, I forget the millimeters as to how thick this is, but they go from like 0.05 or something to like zero point 0.9 or whatever. So again, even though this is padded, I may still want to use more padding. So this is actually what we would call a yoga towel. Now, it doesn't have to be a yoga towel. It can be any towel. But in particular, this one is like pretty long. So it almost supposedly is, the length of a rectangular mat. I actually won this. Okay. So I didn't buy it and I probably would not have necessarily, but I won it. So that was cool. But I use it for different parts of my yoga practice. I'll use it for definitely when I'm on my circular mat, I'll use it for my knees, okay? And I use it, let's say if it's a little chilly, okay, I will use it to cover my body during Shavasana. I can use it, which I'll show you later, as a way to help me reach my arms together, right? If I'm trying to get more length. Same with using it as a way to pull, okay? So again, one equipment, one piece of equipment can have various uses in yoga, all right? So there's never just one reason or one purpose for it. So again, this could be a little baby pillow. Now, the reason why I like this is because I can keep changing the shape of it, right? I can use it as a way to put my head right on the floor. Again, totally different ways, and the uses are endless. So not necessary, right? But fun to have. So again, mat definitely something you want to get first. Something like this is like kind of cool, but you don't need something like this. All right. Again, your body is all you need to practice yoga. So now we're going to move onto blocks. All right. So these, as I said earlier, this is actually cork. Kind of cool, right? So every time I look at these, I think about wine. I don't drink anymore, alcohol. But when I did, I loved wine, champagne specifically. And it always reminds me of the corks, right? That's what it's made of. These are heavier, okay, than regular blocks or foam blocks. So just like there's different varieties of mats, okay, just as many varieties as of blocks. So these are what we call yoga blocks, okay? And they come in different shapes and sizes. These are awesome because they're a little bit heavier, okay? So they can actually take your weight, whereas foam blocks, they are light, like extremely light. So, if they fell on you, it's not going to hurt. If this falls on me, it's going to hurt, I admit. But the fun part is that, again, they have more weight to them. So they are sturdier, I feel. But if you decide to go and buy blocks, just understand, right, that they serve different purposes. Okay, so I was sitting on one, right, earlier. So let me do that. So you can sit on them. Why would I sit on them? Because when you have your hips higher than your knees, you can stay in a meditative position longer. Okay. One time I actually had and I was in a meditation with my arms up like this for 11 minutes. I'll never do that again. And yes, I was on a block. So you give yourself more space when you sit on a block. Now, the funny thing, right, is that you can change the height of the block by simply changing where it's sitting, right? So again, this is a little awkward, but I mean, I can do it. Okay. And there's actually pillows, right, that can act as meditative underneath you. They can be your meditation pillow and stuff like that. But blocks are just awesome. And then if you're being really courageous, I would probably should do it that way. You can use it to sit on. Okay. And again, you actually would do this in a yoga class if, in fact, if you're trying to get into malasana. This is malasana. Okay. The yogi squat. If your hips need some help, this is your malasana. Okay. So again, yoga blocks are really helpful. And again, they come in different shapes and sizes. So I went to a scoliosis or yoga for scoliosis retreat, and we had so much fun. But they had so many different blocks, and what we did is that the blocks helped cue us. So we used them by the walls, and we would get into handstands that way or headstands. There's different reasons to have them. They bring the floor closer to you. Okay. Blocks are used not just in beginner, okay, yoga. They're used by everyone. Okay. The beauty of it is that the blocks for beginners really help you, sorry, with alignment. Okay. So let's say that you're working on getting more hamstrings, working on the hamstring. Well, now, of course, I'm hypermobile and I'm flexible. I can keep a flat back this way, right? But someone might not have that, have that ability, or they're working towards that. So to keep their back flat, right? I mean, they can stay up here. There's nothing wrong with that. But if they're trying to have a little bit more, like they're paying more attention to their, they want to gain that proprioception, right? They can use the blocks to really help gain the length they're looking for in their back and then work towards the more flexibility. Why? Because they brought the floor closer, right, to their arms. So there is never any shame in using blocks. In fact, I would say use them whenever you can. It's really fun. But again, blocks are just really, they are fun to play with, but they're also very helpful. Again, they can help you grow in your practice. Okay. So uh, I would recommend that you try out different ones before you buy them, because you want to decide which ones are, going to fit you most. It took me many years to decide finally, oh, you know what? I'm going to go with the cork. And that's because they're sustainable, but also they are heavy. And so they can be used for different stuff as well, beyond just yoga. So I will pop one over here. Oh, that's still in the way. But in any case, I will use this to sit on probably. All right. So the blocks. Again, I'm trying to go in order for the most part of what I believe you would want to grow into. But if you wanted to go wild and buy everything at once, go for it. If you wanted to see, again, what's going to fit better, then that's why I'm going in this way. All right. So mat, okay, would be my first purchase, which it was actually. I bought my circular mat the very first time. That was my first yoga equipment I bought, or prop. And then we went over anything that you can use for your knees, if that's something that, again, is troubling you, then take the extra care, right? And you can choose anything. Blocks were my second purchase, okay? And yes, you do want to buy at least two. Obviously, we're symmetric, right? And we have two sides to us. And so it just makes sense to have two blocks. You could start out with just one, but you definitely want to buy at least two. All right. So after the blocks, then a really cool toy is known as a yoga strap. And really, you can just think of it as a belt. But it's very fun. It's probably longer than most what you consider like waist belts, right? So, but you could use a belt. I mean, quite literally. So, again, I didn't buy this until, like, I don't know, 2 years after I bought the. Actually, it's kind of funny because it's the same company that the blocks were made out of. So, the strap, okay, this is used once again to help you create length and connection. So I still have yet to be able to touch my tips of fingers together. Nope, it's not happening. But this is a great way to make that happen, right? Then you're trying to help your body as much as possible, right? In any type of position that otherwise, or I should say pose, that could otherwise take you out of alignment. But again, you can use it in any way, shape, or form, right? This is something that we can do with it. There's a loop that you create. Okay, so you can probably see how, if I were to mess with it, then what you want to do is, a lot of cases, in a really props come into big time use in any type of yin yoga. Okay, now again, you can have no props at all in a flow, and more times than not, the yin yoga, oh my goodness, they want you to stay in poses forever. And to do that, it's really helpful to have props to do it, right? So a lot of times you will see these, okay, used again in regular yoga, but a lot of times in yin yoga. And I love it. So, these can help you again if you need to bring your your body closer together and maybe you're working on flexibility, then guess what? This helps do just that. So this is where I'm at, right? But if I were to pull, then guess what? I can go a little further. And without putting a lot of stress on my shoulders or on my foot, right? And keep going. So the strap has a lot of different purposes. It basically, again, brings you closer. Let me go this way. I'm more flexible on this side. It brings you closer. Now, I'm not warm, so I may or may not be able to do this. But see, it brings you closer together. Technically, I should want and be able to bring, my foot as long as I could. But when you're trying to connect, there is a way, right, to go about that. Now, I'm not in the best form here, but basically, you're trying to keep your back nice and long. You're not trying to do this. You're not trying to go here. And this is what brings it closer together, right? So again, straps, very fun. And the more you have, the better. I know that, wow, in one of my favorite instructor, Bryony Smith, in one of her lessons, her tutorials for my 200-hour YTT training, she actually, no, actually it wasn't that, but it was a video about, it was basically like yin yoga. And she had two straps. And so basically it was like being in like a little hammock. She had them on the end of her, and then on the, on her head part. So she was elevating her head, or her, the top of her and then the bottom of her. So cute. Again, very useful. And if you don't have a strap, you probably could get away with using something like this. So this is just a regular resistance band, right? But most of what I did with the strap, let's say you invested in this, but you don't have strap, guess what? This works too. There is no reason for you to think, oh, I have to get something, I have to wait. No, no, no. There are always ways to get around it. And again, even if you don't have them, you don't need them. But if you do have something, right, you can still improvise, right? There's nothing, now it hurts a little bit, but again, you could still get the same effect. The resistance is going to feel different, right? Because you can actually put more, but it's more about, okay, what do I have and what can I use? Well, if what I didn't recommend is for blocks, what if I don't have blocks? Well, do you have books that are the same size? As long as and that's another reason why I like these, because they mimic books. Like if you were to look for books, think about it. This is like a book, right? So a heavy book that you have two of that are about the same size can work. Again, all you're trying to do is bring the floor closer to you. This helps you bring your body closer to you. Um, so those are what I would consider really useful equipment. It wasn't many. And again, there's 10 times more. But those are the ones, again, your mat, and then maybe something for your knees if you think that's necessary, blocks, and then a strap. Okay. Those are your basic for what I would consider a really useful and happy life with yoga. Okay, so I'm going to get back on one of these babies. And now we are going to move into the last segment. And I'm going to take the flesh out of my underneath me so I can stay like this longer. Now, the last segment. This is going to be all about longevity, meaning I want you to understand what it means to have mobility, right? And that's going to help you as you start moving your body. So remember, next month, at the end of the month, whatever the last day of the month is, I think March has 31 days. I could be wrong. But on the 31st, when I go live again, we will actually learn sun salutations A, B, and C. Now that sounds like a lot, and I should be able to get it in an hour. But I always want to keep these at least an hour or less, right? So I'm thinking that I can get through all three. We'll see. So what I want to do though before that is to help you start really understanding the mobility factor, okay? Your feet and your hands, okay? Your feet and your hands are used quite a bit, right? I mean, if you're blessed enough to, right, have all of them working, then we want to make sure that they are primed, right? So that they last. Yoga, just like any other movement practice, will require repetitive motion. And what we don't want is to be injured through misalignment, okay? So the more you can warm up, right, and get your get the juices flowing, so to speak, the better off you are. So I want to think about our hands and our feet and their mobility. So we'll start with our hands. Again, we're always on our hands in some way, shape, or form, right? So some really cool ways to warm up your wrists, okay, the wrists and your fingers, all right, or your hands in general. So Bride loves all these different she calls them, I forget what she calls them. Anyway, hand, there's several different, at least two, that I want to show you. So you want to bring your hands into prayer, okay? And what you want to do is you're going to basically move them, and hopefully you can see, move them so that they start flipping towards each other, and then you're going to take them down. So they're going to mirror each other, right? Put your palms and then start taking them towards each other. So if I reverse that, okay, then, well, let me keep going so you can tell. So they're facing each other, and then what you want to do is you want to let them fall apart, and then try to get the forward facing of your hands to come together, and then you're going to take them down, and then now you're going to go back into prayer. Okay, so kind of confusing. And now I want you to go back. So you're going to actually, let's see if I remember which way I'm going to go. So we went this way, right? And now we want to go backwards so that you're still ending up in prayer. But I want you to go back and forth. So we're going to open them from behind, come forward, go down, come up, and then back into prayer. Now we're going to go back. So we're going to go down, right? Wait, go down, and then come forward, and then turn them into each other. I'm not so good at explaining it. I get to work on that, but you definitely, right, want to start and end up in prayer. Okay, so whether you go forward, okay, so you're bringing your hands forward, and then they're going to turn down, they're going to face each other, and then they're coming back up, and then they'll look forward. Okay, now going the other way. So they're going to fold backwards. There you go. And then up again, and then back into prayer. Got it. This is like talk about juicing up, right? You're totally warming up your wrists and all the tendons, ligaments, I don't know what you'd call them, right? I got to work on that. But all of your muscles are being warmed up, and that's awesome. So that's going to help you when you have been like this for like 2 minutes, okay? You're going to come up, bring your hands together, and again, decide which way you want to go first, but you're going to always come back and forth, okay? And this one is juicy. I love it. And I think it's Bryce's favorite. So I don't really know what you call them. Like, I don't know if there's a certain, I don't think she gave him a name. She just shows us. So now another wrist or hand, and it actually will work your shoulders. And this one I love. I have tight shoulders. I work all the time on them. So this one, though, is going to work your shoulders, your elbows, and your wrists. Okay. So you're going to put your hands, okay, your fingertips really on your shoulders. Now, again, depending on what you got going on with your shoulders, this may or may not be possible for you. But what you're going to do is you're going to bring your elbows together. Again, your fingertips, all right, are on your same elbow. Then you're going to bring your elbows together. Sorry, your fingertips are on your shoulders. Okay. You bring your elbows together. Then you're going to bring them apart and try to bring your hands. And so I think I need to show you what that looks like. You want to bring your shoulders or your hands, your wrists together. Okay. And then you're going to come back so that this is what you're happening. Okay. So that's what it looks like from the back. I'm going to show you from the front. So the idea is that you want to warm up those beautiful shoulders, right? But at the same time, you're warming up your wrist and your elbows, okay? So again, this may or may not be accessible to you, but see what you can do, and then make sure you always come back to the other side. And this feels groovy. It is, these are actually really useful when you're in front of, you said it, the computer. Whenever you are in front of that wonderful device that you're probably watching this with, this is a wonderful way to give not just your eyes, but your actual arms and your torso a rest. So that one's awesome. And that one takes a little bit of, tweaking, right? But it's definitely doable, and it feels really good once you get it going. And this one is for sure a tricky one, and I can understand if you will decide not to partake, but it is a very, it feels good. So let me go, I'll go this way. I need you to be able to see. I'm going to get into tabletop, and remember our dual actions. So it's funny for me, it's hard to see when I'm really in the proper alignment here, but here we go. All right, so this is tabletop. My knees are underneath my hips, and my shoulders are over my wrist. Okay, so this is tabletop. So what we want to do, and my knees are hip width as well. But this is a really fun wrist strengthener, and it opens up the part of your arms that you don't really think about. So what you're going to do, you were originally in your regular tabletop position, but now what you're going to do is you're actually going to turn. Again, if you don't have the mobility, it's okay. But you're going to turn your hands to face you, okay? So that means being very delicate, all right? And what you want to do is you still want to think about your hands nice and, those hand dual actions. You want to think about your hands definitely are hip width, or I should say shoulder width apart, sorry, shoulder width, and the fingers are spread, right? But you also have those knuckles all nice and down, the base knuckles, and then you're gripping the fingertips to the mat. What you're going to do, you should already feel this. If you have tight forearms, you're already going to feel this. This feels yummy to me, okay? But what you're trying to do, and you probably feel it for sure in your wrist, like no doubt, you feel it in the inside of your wrist and on the outside. And again, if you don't feel safe doing this, don't. But and I am hypermobile, remember that. But what you're going to do is ever so slightly is you're going to take your upper body forward and then take it back. And again, if you don't want to, you don't have to. This might be just here, end table should be plenty, okay? But if you're feeling like you could go a little more, just go forward a little and then come back, right? Forward and back. This one is a biggie. And to get out of it, only one head at a time, obviously, but pick it up and bring it back. Pick one up and bring it back, okay? You might even just decide to take one like this, okay, incrementally, and then put it forward. Incrementally, bring it forward, okay? So it's not about rushing this, because this one, you don't want to hurt yourself for sure. And it takes, again, patience. So here I am having to roll out. Rolling out your, you can simply, if you really, just roll them out too. I forgot that one. That's like the easiest one. Whenever you're in I believe it's flexion with your wrist, this is the perfect antidote, right? Just turn them. And this you're probably doing all the time anyway because you're always at your desktop, right? So those are all for the wrist, the hands, fingers, right? And even your shoulders and elbows. So like the upper area. Now we have what I would call your lower mobility drills that you can participate in. That's what you would call them, drills, right? So this one is intense. Now I have bunions, so this I can do it. I don't think I should, but I shouldn't say shouldn't, but what it is that this used to be really comforting to me until I got bunions. But I also know that I'm working on getting my feet to reform themselves correctly, and so I wear toe spacers. So this actually is actually probably good for me in the fact that with the toe spacers, I actually can feel like I have more stability when I do this. I don't have toe spacers on right now, but again, I want to naturally make my feet better, and so I'm wearing shoes that obviously are that have the wider toe box, right? They're not. I used to wear, running shoes that had really thick soles and blah blah blah. Now I want to start running with what we call bare feet, right? And we'll see how that goes. But I want to recuperate. I want my feet to get healthy again, right? So anyway, back to the feet. So this one is probably not anyone's favorite. I don't know anyone who enjoys thunderbolt with their feet up. So this actually is thunderbolt, okay? And you can make it more intense. Go ahead and get back into tabletop, right? And then um, go ahead and flex your feet, okay? And now you're going to actually sit back on your heels. What you want to do is make sure that your pinky is actually on the mat. So that will ensure that you have actually started to spread your toes. Okay, so this is really intense. Again, I've never really been fond of this one, but it's definitely more intense now. But this is actually very good for you. Why? Because you are strengthening all the muscles in your feet to include your toes, right? So this is intense, but this is a perfect way to help give your feet longevity. All right. I won't leave you here for too long, but feel free, okay, to tap them out, all right? Because you probably stopped a lot of blood flow right there. And we want to make sure that you're getting back there. But this one is awesome. You can even, when I do want to try and stay in it longer, believe it or not, you can actually put something underneath your bum so that you elevate, right? You're taking away all that pressure. There's still pressure. I mean, I can tell you right now, my toes are screaming at me. But now I don't have that direct pressure. So I can even elongate, right? And that's cool. So again, it's bringing the floor closer to me. I then, once I'm feeling more less um, inhibited, maybe I only need the little towel, right? So again, there's ways to keep bringing the floor up to you and then going back down to the floor. So again, don't ever believe that using any type of prop is a sign of weakness. It's not. It's a way to keep you in proper alignment, okay? And that's what brings longevity. And the last of I'll show you for the feet. I obviously work more on our hands because we're definitely we need to give our feet more love, but people will think about our hands more, right? More often just because we're always using our hands, right? And we're using our feet, hopefully, if we have that advantage. But what I'm saying is a lot of times our feet are in shoes, right? So we're not going to be able to do this per se. You can, it's doable, but you want your feet free as much as possible. So I think about the fact that we have our hands in front of us, right? And that's why I went more into the hands. So flexing and pointing is a wonderful way to gain more mobility in your feet. Something as simple as this. So hold onto your toes if you can reach them. If you can't reach them, guess what? use a strap. Use something that can bring your hands closer to your feet. Okay, so you come, right? And you don't even have to come down, really. You can use the strap, whatever you're going to use, right? But you want to feel that nice tension. So you're flexing, and what that does, okay, is that it activates the front, okay? So you should feel that. And it actually should activate the back of you a little bit, right? Then when you point, okay, once again, you should feel it, but you should also feel it in your ankles, okay? So when you flex, you're going to feel it more in the behind of your legs, right? Your calves, and you'll hopefully feel it right in the back of your heel. But when you point, now you're feeling it in the top, right? And it should feel all the way down, and that should feel really cool. Now I don't need that right now, the strap, but pointing, pointing and flexing, and then you hold it, right? Maybe 10 seconds, and then you point and flex. This is going to feel so good. Again, when you're wearing shoes, it inhibits your movement. So whenever you can, go barefoot. Like seriously, the more barefoot you are, the easier life becomes, because your feet, when they are meant to be on the ground, right? We've just become so accustomed to wearing shoes that we think that we have to. No, I used to always, well, I haven't, let me just put it this way. I won't wear any type of, I will always wear something if I go to a gym. That's just, I am not going to go barefoot over there. No way, shape, or how. But if I'm working, if I'm exercising, right, if I'm conducting my movement practice in my own residence, I'm going to go barefoot as much as possible. Okay, I want my feet to breathe, and I want them to feel like they have connection. And you will actually have, and again, right, we practice yoga in, or I should say, um, without, anything on our feet, unless you want to use grippy type yoga socks. But again, we're usually barefoot. And there's a reason for that. In yoga, you want to be as solid as possible. You want to be grounded. And how do you ground? You get to be, right, as close to the ground as possible with your feet. So having bare feet is one of the best ways you can actually rehab your feet, right? Giving them the love of freedom so they can splay out is one of the best gifts you can give your feet. So think about that. And with that, we have come up to the end of our little live here. So I want to say thank you, and hope to see you next month. Again, we're going to go finally start moving, but it will be sun salutation A, B, and C, and that will be fun. But again, I wanted to give you basics. So we started last month in the clinic, all about literally, right? Like, um, what was last week? I mean, last month. Let me think about that. I can't remember exactly. Oh, dual actions, right? How to, again, keep yourself safe, right? Dual actions, and increasing your mobility, not just in yoga, but in all day, right? Activity. And then this time we learned the breath, Ujay breathing, what type of tools you might use, okay, equipment wise, and then how to again help your in this case your hands and feet really get stable, so that when you start moving, you're going to have a better foundation, right? And you're going to be moving right along with me. So with that, we will say later, and I look forward to moving with you next week. So until next time, not next week, sorry, next month. Until next time, take care, take charge. God bless. Ciao.